Good evening. Welcome to the Spiritual But Not Religious Show. I'm your host, George Lewis. I have a great show lined up for you tonight. I have a superb guest, just a lovely lady, and she's a psychic and a medium and has been doing this since she was 5 years old. Quite a story in her background. My guest next week is Frank Hugenard. Frank is a filmmaker. He's done a documentary about Jesus and his life in India, and says that he's found some historical data that shows that actually Jesus lived and died in India and taught past life regression or past lives and reincarnation. So pretty interesting. Interesting guy, too. I watched a little video of him. He's got tomatoes growing out there on the Pacific West Coast, but plants are higher than the rooftop of his house. It's he's quite an unusual guy. So you want to be sure and tune in next week. You'll absolutely enjoy him. My guest tonight is Pamela 9. I'm going to tell you about her shortly. But before that, I want to talk with you a bit about the Spiritual Broadcasting Network and this show and what we're doing, why we're doing it. You know, the spiritual but not religious community has grown leaps and bounds in the last 15, 20 years, 10 years maybe. It's in the last 5, it's really blossomed. It's at a point now where the Consensus Bureau, the U.S. Consensus Bureau, tells us that 20% of the American population calls themselves spiritual but not religious. A lot of people leaving the churches, they're just not getting that experience that they're going there looking for, that inner experience, that inner connection with a higher power. Now, the thing about the spiritual but not religious community is that we have every kind of belief system in there that you can imagine, so we're a very diverse group. And because of that, and because we don't go to a church, we don't really have a gathering place. We also don't have a place to express who we are. We don't have a real voice in the community or in the country. So one of the things that we're doing is providing some space to bring you the voice of that community. We work at bringing people who are on the cutting edge of I believe there's a spiritual revolution in progress. I think it's been going on for a while. It's a leaderless movement, needs to be a leaderless movement. And I'm quite sure that we're moving toward a transformation. You know, the world's been especially, I can't speak for the rest of the world, but certainly this country has been really overpowered by greed. Our whole system kind of promotes greed and the dark side and all that part of us. And so, although there's been light in the community, the dark has really kind of held sway. And I believe that a transformation will do a flip, and instead of being so much from the dark side, we'll be operating more from the light side, and that should make some pretty nice changes. So, and we're about promoting that idea and bringing you people who are kind of on the cutting edge of transformation. My guest tonight is Pamela 9. She's a psychic and a medium. Been doing this stuff since she was 5 years old, and 20 years in, I believe, making her living doing this kind of thing. So, Tom, you got Pamela on the line.
Yes, we do.
Pamela. Hi, Pamela.
Hi, George.
Boy, Tom, have we got a little ring in the background there? Tom's going to see if he can pick it up. Well, I'm glad we were connected. You know, I've spent the day with you already.
Yay!
Yay! I've listened to quite a few of your interviews that you've done. You're pretty prolific. You've done a lot of interviews. I think you've been on local TV there too, haven't you?
I have. I posted the Health, Energy, and Awareness show we have here locally, and I've done several different shows and lots of radio, so I love it.
You're in Knoxville.
I'm in Knoxville, yes.
Well, you know, I go by Knoxville when I'm going back up to Michigan to visit with my family. You know, 75. I think you kind of branch off to go to Knoxville. And
Well, you'll have to stop next time, and we'll have to get together and meet in person.
I'll take you up on that. We'll have a cup of coffee or something.
Oh, I'd love that. Yes.
Great. I'll tell you what. Before we get started, why don't you give our audience an idea of how you got involved in this? You had quite an experience at 5, I think, and your maternal grandmother was also a psychic and a medium?
Yes. Now, she didn't call herself that. She just said she had some gifts. You have to realize it was...
well, back in those days, if you said
absolutely.
you were a psychic, you were of the devil and you were
Right.
outcast. Heck, that went on in my lifetime in the early 70s. It was still like that.
Oh, I know. So she did, she wasn't very outward with that. She didn't want to be burned at the stake,
Good.
especially since we live in the Southern Bible Belt here.
I do know.
Yes. So, my little story is I've been in the wellness profession for 26 years, and but I actually discovered my gift when I was 5. I had an amazing experience. I was raised on a farm. My grandparents had a farm. It was
Pretty large farm too, wasn't it?
92 acres.
Right.
Yes, and I loved it. So I'm a country girl, and I'm proud of that.
Absolutely.
So, we had ponds on the property, and I love being outside. So I actually was outside, and we had caverns on the property, and I crawled into one of the caverns. And now I was actually guided into this little cavern by a snake. And, some people are scared of snakes.
Right.
I've just never been because, I've been around animals my whole life. So I crawled in this little cavern, and it actually fell in on me. And
Oh, wow.
I was pretty much buried, in the earth for some say 2 and some say 3 hours. I could see slivers of light, and I pretty much left this place. I went to the other side. And
Did you have oxygen? I mean, you were able to breathe? You weren't
yes,
unconscious?
I was able to breathe. There were air pockets, and I could see light.
Uh-huh.
But I actually left this place, and I went to the other side, and I met my great-grandparents, and I met my Native American spirit guide. And when my grandfather, he actually found me and dug me out. Now, he said he could feel me. My parents and my brother would tell me about this, as I grew up, and they told me that he actually put his hand to the ground and laid down and put his ear on the ground, and then he went straight to me. He was very connected to the earth, my grandfather. And
That's pretty amazing right there.
Yeah, they dug me out, and then when I would be at my grandmother and grandfather's house, she would get this old box of photographs out, and I would look at them, and I recognized her mom and dad, and I would tell her things about them that I couldn't possibly know, and it was from them sharing that with me from the other side. And they told me it wasn't my time to come there. I had lots of work to do, and so I've been doing it for a long time.
So, when did you actively start your psychic mediumship, where you were, offering it to the public? How old were you when that began?
Well, honestly, I feel like I've been doing this my whole life.
Sure.
I discovered it, that I actually saw auras, and I was able to see spirits, apparitions of spirit energy when I was 7.
Uh-huh.
And my grandmother and I, we shared an amazing spiritual experience before my uncle died. It was her oldest son, and we had an angel appear to us, and she was beautiful in white, and she told us there was an impending death, and I dreamed about my uncle that night, and the next day he actually died, and at the funeral home, he was in the casket, but I could see him up moving around the room, and my grandmother, she realized that I could see him too.
Uh-huh.
And so it kind of started there, and then I started seeing colors around people and around plants and animals, and then I found out they're auras, and I still see them. I also see energy within people, but I started doing professional cosmetic procedures to help people with their outer beauty. And I started that 26 years ago. And no, I'm not telling my age, but I don't mind if I have to. So anyway, I was in that for a number of years, and then more often than not, I would be counseling someone while I was doing cosmetic procedures. So then I was told that my path was changing, and I was to not only help people with their outer beauty, but also with their inner beauty. So
This was another psychic that
yes.
I got it, okay.
Yes, and my grandmother in spirit. Now, my grandmother, she crossed in 1992, and yet she's still with me. She's my spirit guardian. I get wonderful signs from her. I can still see and communicate with her and my father in spirit. So, I know for certain that our loved ones are always still with us. So.
You know from experience.
Yes.
Which
absolutely.
is absolutely the best way to know anything.
Yes. Now, granted, it's hard sometimes, especially when you're psychic and intuitive like I am, because if you're living, and learning a lesson, you don't always get the same information that you would normally get for others. So it gets kind of frustrating sometimes,
I totally understand that.
Yes.
It's like counselors who do counseling with people. Oftentimes their life is a little tough, and they are able to help others, but not be so able to help themselves. Huh?
Right.
Yeah,
And
same kind of thing.
absolutely. I mean, more times than not, you'll hear me going, okay, wait a minute, that's not fair. I'm supposed to be psychic. I didn't get that, when it's for myself. So.
Well,
It's okay.
it's probably good that we didn't. The old false pride and ego can take over pretty handily,
Yeah.
We get too much power going on, and it's pretty easy to misuse, isn't it?
Well, my grandmother shared something with me when I was a teenager. I've always been very hard on myself, and I'm probably my worst enemy. I always, try to do my best in everything that I do, and especially when I'm helping others. So she told me, honey, you just do the best you can do, and everything you do, you try to do it with love, and then you don't need to worry about it, So that was some great advice, and I try to teach that, to my students as well.
Well, that's some pretty sage advice there.
Yes.
It takes some people spend a lifetime and never comprehend the power in that. That's very powerful stuff.
Absolutely. And
So was your grandmother a Cherokee Indian? Is that
my grandmother was Cherokee, yes.
Was she full-blooded or partial? Or?
No, she was just partial, and we actually started the process of searching the rolls and everything, and at one point she said, we don't need to do this. I don't even think they signed the rolls. A lot of them didn't.
Right.
And she said, I know I'm Cherokee. I don't need to know how much. And she passed on wonderful traditions to me that I still practice, in my life and teach, and so I'm very proud of that.
Was she from Cherokee, North Carolina, or where was
No. Now, her family actually lived in North Carolina for a while, and then they moved to a little town outside of Knoxville called Straw Plains. And then they moved, when she married my grandfather, they moved here to Knoxville, and they bought the farm. And that was in, I'm thinking I can't even remember. But anyway, that was a long time ago. They were married for 68 years when my grandfather passed in 1987, and he was 97. So
they had a hard time doing relationships, huh? Good grief.
No.
68 years, that's amazing.
I know.
Yeah, that's amazing. And not many of us are capable of that in this day and age.
No, that's true.
So, there's something about the farm life too. I don't know. There's a partnership and a bond happens with families who live in the country
Yes.
that I think city dwellers just kind of miss out on, for whatever reason. I'm not sure of the reasons. But. So, you were outside of Knoxville, the farm, is that right?
In Knox County, which is, a little suburb, in Knoxville. And I actually live really close to where I grew up now. I'm in the Carnes area, and yes, I know exactly what you're saying. Especially with my Native American heritage, I always felt connected to the earth and the animals. And
Right.
There's not a day goes by that I don't walk outside in the morning, and I usually greet the sunrise. And it's so amazing how every day the sky is, a different, beautiful color. And, there are some people, and unfortunately, a lot of people that don't even pay attention to that. So, and I find that's something that's really shaped who I am and how I help others. So I feel very fortunate with that.
Well, a lot of the psychics, and I've talked to a lot of psychics, not just on this show, but mine. We have here in Sarasota, we have a New Age. We started out as a bookstore. It's a gift shop now. That's probably the premier gift shop of its kind in the country. And my ex's sister owned that, and they had psychics in and out of there all the time. And I've been involved since like the early '70s. And the one thing I noticed about a lot of psychics are they're really ungrounded. One of the things I noticed with you was that you seem to have pretty solid grounding, and I think you just explained it. With your
I do.
that connection to the earth. It's that's how we ground a home electrically. We drive a rod in the earth and tie a wire to it.
Absolutely, and that's what we do to ourselves. If we, through meditation,
Yeah.
grounding yourself and then connecting yourself to the spirit realm, also, then that way you achieve that balance between both worlds.
I work at living with my head in the clouds and my feet planted firmly on terra firma.
Absolutely.
I don't want to get all of me stuck in the earth here.
I know. Well, and just talking about meditation, I'd love to share this. Just a couple of weeks ago, I spent a week in St. Croix in the Virgin Islands.
I'm jealous now.
Oh my God, it was so beautiful. I'd never been there, and the water was turquoise and absolutely breathtaking. And so I did a meditation. Well, I did several right on the beach, and one evening we did this meditation, and the sunset was just incredible. I took some pictures. I may have to post them on Facebook, but the meditation was just incredible. I was there with all of the elements, and it was just phenomenal. I'll never forget that.
That kind of an experience it opens up a new part of us, doesn't it?
It does.
Something changed. It alters something within our whole frame of reference.
Well, and especially in this time, this is truly what I feel is the age of awakening for so many people, and especially, what's coming up. A very powerful day is coming up, and I'll say a very special day for me personally on 11/11, and I know that this day is an awakening in a lot of ways for a lot of people, for spirituality itself in many, many ways. And
well, can you give us some specifics about 11/11? Why 11/11?
Well, I'm sure you can go on Google and get bombarded with a lot of information that's out there.
Sure.
Personally, I have had visions ever since I was little about the changes that our Earth and our planet has been undergoing. And a lot of people have been talking about, is the end for humanity on 2012? No. I don't see that. It's a cleansing. I've actually shared a vision similar to several of colleagues of mine. And I see it as waves. I mean, I have literally seen water coming in and taking out things that no longer serve us. And our whole planet is going through a cleansing. Also feel the feminine energy is becoming more and more aware of the Mother Earth element. And quite honestly, the Native American traditions, there are so many people now that I'm finding are trying to go back to the old ways in order to create a new. So, and I feel like this is all part of the Hopi prophecy. I share those views as well.
Uh-huh.
And so, yes, I mean, we could talk for days about this, George.
Well, I think that's a pretty relevant topic right now. Part of my introduction to the show is talking about exactly this. That's why we're doing what we're doing, is to help promote that awakening, because
Yes.
I'm right on the same page you are. I'm
Yes.
convinced that we're in the middle of a huge transformation.
Well, and I feel so honored to be a part of this, and I know that is one of my main purposes for being here, in this existence. I really know this is not just a classroom that I'm in. This is to help people on a level that is far beyond what even I can comprehend, so.
Well, I think if you think about it, the whole idea of God really is beyond what we're even capable of imagining.
Yes.
And all we can, our attempts at understanding and defining God are pretty feeble, really.
No, and one of the things I teach is, I truly believe our greatest lesson here in this lifetime is to learn how to love ourselves and others the way God loves us. And, we really do fail so miserably at that. We do. But we're still trying, so I'm optimistic.
Well, I think the world suffers from a deficit of self-love.
Yes.
A huge deficit of self-love. I work with a lot of people, or have over the years, and, at the root of the real problem is exactly that. 99% of their problems stem from not loving themselves.
Yes, absolutely. And there's so much anger and hostility in people and negativity,
Right.
You honestly, the first moment you wake your eyes up in the morning, and the thoughts that come into your mind shape your entire day, honestly.
Absolutely.
If you wake up and you think, I'm going to have a crappy day, then you probably are going to have a really crappy day. So I try not to do that. I try to wake up positive, and I always wake up happy. My one of my sons, he didn't always wake up happy, so but he actually does now. When he was younger, he didn't. So I call him Grumpy and say, "You can't do that, honey. You're going to mess up your whole day." So.
How old is Grumpy now?
Well, Grumpy's almost 16, and he's very wonderful. He's musically gifted in so many ways, and he's very intuitive as well. And then my older son, he just turned 18, and he's actually very intuitive and very intelligent, and I have wonderful boys. I'm very proud.
Does he own the fact that he's intuitive, or is he not? He's kind of brushing that off right now.
Well, no, it's not cool right now.
Right.
I'm crazy.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I understand
Yeah.
that. I'm still crazy in my family.
Yeah. And my older son, he's actually, he has both sides. He's very logical, but he's also very intuitive.
Uh-huh.
So he has to make sense of it, and it's amazing to, watch them grow up. I can't believe, I look at them now and I'm thinking, oh my God, what happened? Where's all the time gone?
Well, if you think that amount of time went fast, wait until you see what the equal amount in the future goes. Oh my goodness.
Oh, I know. And George, don't you think, honestly, does it feel like to you time is just moving it seems to me it's moving quicker and quicker. Does it to you? Or is it just me?
It feels like absolutely it does to me.
Yes.
There's, of course, I'm a lot closer to the exit than you are.
All right now.
So that'll
I don't mind to tell you.
That'll make a difference, you know.
You know what? I don't feel my age at all. I just had, and I don't care, I'm fine with this, I just had my 48th birthday
Well,
in
congratulations.
August.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. And
you don't show it. You
thank you. Just to,
and
don't
you
get
also,
up real close,
and
okay?
You also don't seem to show the Botox either. Didn't you do a lot of work with Botox?
No, I actually did. Now, I had plastic surgeons that came into my office at one point, and they did all that. But I work with burn victims and mastectomy patients. I do skin micropigmentation, and I do permanent cosmetics and scar camouflaging, and I work with a lot of cancer victims, oncology patients, and burn survivors. So.
Did you do anything? Have you done anything with the new synthetic skin at all with people?
No.
That's pretty amazing stuff, isn't it?
I know, but that still freaks me out a little bit.
Well, I understand.
Yeah.
But it'll take a little getting used to, I think.
Yeah, God didn't make it.
But believe me, in another 25 years, you'll be thankful for any bionic part you can get.
No, I'm going out gracefully, and
good luck on that one. You let me know how that works out. I'm going to tell you, it's amazing the stuff that happens to you that you thought never would. There's no way it can happen for you, you know.
Right.
You're 48. My daughter's 45.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't feel a day over 22.
Well, I don't either.
No.
You know, my boy.
Except early in the morning.
No, you can't think of it like that. You get up and you think, oh, I'm 22 today, so.
I think that. I think that. It's like I get my body now to move along. But I'm young, and I think, you know, I think as we move into the future, that Pamela, that, you know, there's so many changes happening in life extensions.
I do too.
You know, and you know, men my age, in the previous generation, they were old, and there are a lot of men my age right now who are old. You know, but I believe a lot of that's it's mental connection. Is how you see yourself.
Oh, absolutely,
you know?
Yes.
So it's a huge thing. Yeah, I also, so the reason I said something about the Botox is you got some jerk out there who was really, he was really giving you some bad press. What was his deal? I couldn't understand his reasoning behind coming after you the way he was doing. It didn't make a lot of sense to me.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
If you Google me, this page comes up, and I'm not going to give the name because I don't.
No, we don't need to give him any press. You know.
Right. Well, what happened with that? I didn't even realize it was out there. And I have a page on my website, Native American Traditions, and I just kind of highlight some things that are special to me. It's from different tribes and different, heritages. And so there was a beautiful quote from a book that I just loved. It was the Gospel of the Red Man.
Right.
And he just went crazy. This man, he's Native American. I'm not going to, give you specifics.
Sure.
He's not even registered on a roll from what I understand, and yet he goes around criticizing everybody else. And, then he accused me. It was so funny. He accused me of offering him a reading and trying to get him to buy a reading and stuff, and it was totally dishonest what he did. And he was in violation of the rights from our website anyway for misquoting and using the information that he did. So I tried to lovingly work that out with him, and then finally said, you know what, I can't make anyone do anything. I don't have any control over anyone, so I let that go. And whoever wants to read it, fine. the truth is right there on my website, and if you have questions, you're welcome to ask me. What he printed and said is not the truth.
Well, you know, the thing that impressed me, Pamela, was that your responses were like, I mean, you really did a good job responding, considering
thank you.
the way this guy was treating you. There was no, you know, what it felt like to me was he's an unhappy man, and he found a target.
Yes.
And tried to victimize you, you know.
Right. Well, I don't need to be the victim. I'm here to help people, and I don't choose to spend my time or energy with any of that. So, you know, and at one point I thought, well, I'm going to have my attorney deal with this. And I talked to him, and he said, yeah, we could deal with this. It's going to take quite a bit of money and a lot of time. And quite honestly, because they're working under the guise of being in media and reporting and stuff, you know.
Yes.
So I said, you know what? People can see the truth for themselves, and I'm not going to worry about it.
Well, you know, the thing that's I think is so problematic is you're an attractive woman, and you know, like on the internet, you're quite available. And you don't know what kind of nutcases you're going to run into out there.
Right,
It can be a dangerous situation. So I'm glad it didn't go any further than that.
Yeah.
So you're also a medium, is that right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And if I were to ask you if you would show us a bit, do you do it in trance, or how do you do your medium thing?
No, it's just very natural to me, you know. Now, I call myself an intuitive counselor. And I was guided to do that many years ago because, yes, I'm psychic, but I also give people direction, you know, when they come to me. It's not just information. They actually talk to me, too. They can ask specific questions, and so that was why I went with the intuitive counseling. And then more times than not, you know, people may not actually be coming to me for a mediumship reading, but their loved ones are there with them in spirit. It's just very natural. You know, I'm at the grocery store, and people are in the aisle, and their loved ones are with them, and when I'm in restaurants, and so, you know, I've had to learn to not let it take over, you know, my life completely. You know, it's just part of who I am, and I don't do anything special. It just shows up, and there they are, and I talk to dead people, so.
I have a good friend here in Sarasota who, she talks to dead people also.
Right.
It's very, very interesting. You also read auras?
I do.
That started pretty early for you, right?
I was about 7 when I realized I could do that.
If we had Tom's permission, would you be able to read Tom's aura from?
Oh, absolutely.
Tom,
I mean, I can
Tom,
do yours too, and I don't have to be seeing you either. I can do it just from the energy that I.
Well, that's what it's all about, anyhow, isn't it? Energy.
Right.
Tom, are you up for that?
Oh, I have no problem with that, George.
Okay. Well, what I see immediately around Tom is he has yellow over his head. It's like an arc, and that tells me he's very intuitive, but he's also very intelligent. He's a planner. He has to break everything down and know the what, where's, and whys of everything. So he also has lots of blue around him that kind of fades down from the yellow. And that tells me he has a very a calm, a soothing side. And that's funny, he has a blue shirt on right now. He's drawn to it. People actually are healed by being around him. He just kind of emits a soothing calmness. Does that make sense?
Well, I'll tell you what, at the YMCA where he was working out for a while, they called him the mayor, if that tells you anything.
The what?
The mayor, he was the mayor.
The mayor?
Yeah.
The mayor, M-A-Y-O-R.
Oh.
Not M-A-R-E.
How funny.
So you have you really pegged him pretty good with, especially for just reading the aura like that.
Yeah. He has a little quiet side too. He's selective in who he lets into his immediate inner circle. But when you're in there, he likes to cut up and kid around, and most people don't see that side of him, but there's a few who do.
Yeah, you got him nailed pretty good there.
Okay.
What do you think, Tom? That feel
Yeah,
right?
pretty good, pretty good.
Yeah.
Especially the inner part. Yeah.
You know, I talk when I talk with psychics, it's it's one thing to hear. When I listen to interviews on psychics, it's one thing we talk and you find out who they are and how they be, but there's something about like the actual doing, I think, that makes it more tangible to an audience.
Right,
I
right.
I think it just brings it the reality home more for them, especially if they can get some validation from some third party that they trust.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, I actually briefly saw and talked to Tom for the first time just, a few minutes ago.
Right.
And so,
Yeah, your experience with Tom is pretty limited. You wouldn't know all of those kind of things unless you had some psychic
okay.
ability.
So, can I continue just for a second?
Yeah.
Okay. And like I said, I'm very hard on myself, so I always want to do the best that I can do, because if I'm helping someone, I don't want to lead anybody in the wrong direction. I get 2 children around Tom, is that correct?
2+, huh, Tom? 4.
Okay. Okay, let me ask, is there 2 children that are closer, and I don't mean closer, like mentally, emotionally, I mean physically closer than the other 2?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm picking up on the 2 that are physically closer to you right now. And there's a little girl coming, a new little girl. Do you know what I'm...
That'd be a shocker.
Not unless my son is finally bringing a grandchild into the world. That's the only way I can think of.
Yeah, there's a baby girl coming in 2012 for you. So I wanted to share that with you.
That would be awesome. We would be thrilled.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Because our youngest is 12 right now, so we got no babies around.
Good. Now, there's a Sharon. Does that name mean anything to you?
Sharon.
Uh-huh.
Not off the top of my head at this moment.
Okay. Well, I want you to keep, I don't know if this has happened. I'm getting more like this is precognitive. And there's a Sharon coming that you need to pay attention to. She has some really good, productive, supportive advice for you, and this is work-related.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
So, you'll have to let me know on that, because
Absolutely.
that's definitely something
Absolutely.
good. Okay?
Absolutely. I'd love to.
Okay, well, good. Okay, George, you want me to take a shot at you?
You know what? I as many psychics as I've talked to, and people, I've never had anybody do that with me. I've never asked for it before.
Okay.
But you're welcome to. Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay. Well, I briefly saw you walking by the camera a few minutes ago,
Mm-hmm.
so and I can't see you now. So this is strictly from what I get with your energy relating to
Yeah, we've had
voice.
very little contact.
Right,
you and I.
right.
It's
So
all
we'll
been
have
with
to
you and
change
Tom.
that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. You have lots of red and orange around you. Now, when a lot of people think of them having red, automatically they're like, oh, what's that? Well, red's good. Red is physical energy, emotional. You're very you're a very caring and loving man. I would love to have $1 for every person that you've actually helped in your lifetime. I wouldn't ever have to worry again.
That's the truth.
Okay. The orange is very creative energy. You're driven with, it's almost like you can't finish one thing until you're off to something else. and you have you have a new project. Actually, you have two new projects that you're working on.
Huh.
Am I right?
Yes, absolutely.
Good, good. So stay with all of that, and you're like Tom, and I think this is the bond that keeps you all together. You have that yellow arc over your head, and you all get in there and plan things together and talk about it and break it up, and so y'all are really good friends. I think you were probably together in other lifetimes.
Yeah, I think you're probably right on that.
I feel a very strong brother bond with the both of you.
Yeah, well, you hit really right on, Pamela. That's impressive.
Yay.
Yeah,
Good.
very impressive. So, listen, audience, she's real. She's the real deal.
I am real.
And you know what? Not all are. I've been around. There's an awful lot of people hang a shingle out that really, they're just kind of reaching.
Oh, I know. And it's amazing how they get, the door just tiny open, and, they're, I'm not criticizing because I know we all have these gifts, but, I don't condone, people misleading other people. Either you can help them or you can't, and if you can't, please don't take on that responsibility. So.
Well, there are just an awful lot of folks who will read a book and all of a sudden become the guru. And I think it's just a natural phenomenon with an awful lot of people, And I think, what I think that goes back to, Pamela? I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier, lack of self-love and looking for that approval,
Well, and you know what? Truly, we all have spiritual gifts. We all are intuitive and psychic to a degree.
Right.
Now, some are more so than others, but, you honestly can develop your intuitive and psychic and mediumship abilities. And, along those lines, I actually have a spiritual apprenticeship program that I work with people. I work with them in person, and I actually opened it up to over the telephone and Skype, and I work with people all over the world, and I love being able to get people in touch with spirit and develop their own special gifts. So.
The payoff for that is absolute joy. I work with a lot of people spiritually, and I really understand the feeling you're talking about. It's a wonderful feeling. I have been an empath my whole life. I'm not. I wouldn't say that I'm psychic, but I'm very empathic, and I'm able to really reach into people. More often than not, it's very unexpected on their part. But I'm not a medium. But you know what? I say I'm not a medium, but at the same time,
But you are.
Yeah, I am. I've done a lot of automatic writing and that kind of thing.
You can. I'm sensing that even with me, and never having spoke to me or anything, you truly have an innate sense of who I really am.
Yeah, I do.
And you do that with other people. So, yes, you can say I'm authentic because I really am.
Absolutely. And believe me, I wouldn't say that if you weren't. I probably wouldn't say anything negative, but I wouldn't be saying anything positive either. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So tell me, you also are precognitive?
Yes.
Do you have anything going on for what's, in the way of precognition or psychic or however around this Occupy Wall Street?
You know what, George, and this is the honest to God's truth. I stopped reading the news and watching news, and I get little blibs here and there, like when I log on the internet when it's up. I've had technical difficulties here lately, but I truly don't know a lot about that.
Right.
I feel like that the cause is worthy and good, but something makes me feel like they're not going to get as far as we would hope that they would get with this,
Well, I'm a bit cautious on that part of it myself.
Right, and
but you
I'm
know,
not actively involved in it, and that's not something that I, see myself doing.
Uh-huh.
I support it from what I know about it, but I'm really not that, not that up on what it's truly all about. So.
Well, there's an awful lot of unrest in the world, huge changes in the Middle East. I mean, stuff that, gosh, couldn't even be conceived of 20 years ago.
Right.
And it all feels to me part of that crumbling of the old world order. When I talk about world order, I'm talking about the mental world order.
Yes.
Which has to happen in order for the transformation that I hear you talking about and that I'm talking about.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, we have to expect that there's going to be those kind of things are going to go on.
Yes, I truly believe that.
How about the weather? As far as I don't know if we could call it global warming, but there certainly is some changes going on in the weather that haven't been there in the last 50 years or so. What do you think's going on there? Anything? Have you intuited anything there?
Yes. Now, I do some predictions. I stay so busy, I honestly don't, I don't
Right.
make a point of documenting every prediction that I make, but I'll say this this can be documented.
Well,
Okay.
we got it. We're going to have it right digitally documented as soon
Very
as you
good.
say it.
Well, and I'm here to tell you, this coming, the winter months that are coming up, there is going to be quite an eye-opening, I'm feeling, and I've had several visions. I've actually talked to a colleague about this, and like, for example, in our area, we don't have really harsh winters, but I do know that people need to get ready for this, because there's going to be several snowstorms come up, and people are going to be without electricity, and sometimes for several days. So, let me put it out there, because we need to get ready. And I think this is going to intensify over the next few years. We still have 2 or 3 years to really deal with the economy improving. And yes, I do think it's improving, but it's not going to be overnight, and there's still some cleansing that has to occur in order for this transition to fully make an impact. So
We need a lot of cleansing on Wall Street.
oh yes,
I couldn't agree with that.
absolutely.
I couldn't agree with that anymore. That's for sure. Well, it's like there's a price for everything, and if we've got to walk through some tough times to get through this transformation, I'm sure we're willing to show up. I'd like my grandchildren to be able to have somewhere close to the opportunity that I had. And I know from my own experience that it was so much easier in the late 60s and 70s to be your own person, to start your own business. I'll tell you what, the deck is stacked now. It's very difficult for people.
Oh, absolutely.
Very difficult, So it's pretty amazing. We live in interesting times, though, don't we?
Yes, and you know what? Some days I think, oh my gosh, am I going to get through this day? But then I do, and then I welcome the next day. And I know all these tests and things that we're going through, it's truly, it's evolution. Each day we're gaining grace. Sometimes we fall back, and we pick ourselves up and we move forward, and we're moving toward a better place. And I truly know and believe the greatest thing we have here is love, prayer, and forgiveness. And if we would just all remember that, it would take us a lot further.
Gosh, that word forgiveness is so key.
Yes.
So key.
Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, that's the biggest problem we have with all the wars we have. Most of them started back, God, who knows when. Back before the Crusades, before written history, really. So I have one question more, kind of on the economy. In your personal business, what does your husband do? You've been married since '98? Or 2008, I mean?
No. Okay, I'll say this. I have been single for 13 years.
Right.
Now, I had a year mishap, okay?
I understand.
And so I've been single, for a long time, a single mother. And so
Okay.
I'm currently single. But I'll say this. Now, I'm very private about my life. And
Sure.
but over the next little while, I'll be making some really special announcements coming up, and I'm very happy about it.
Well, good for you.
Okay.
Good for you. I'm pleased to hear that for you.
Yeah.
My question is kind of connected with the economy as we were talking about. In your business, have you noticed any kind of a fluctuation either way? In other words, are you doing more business because more people are more concerned and need answers, or are you doing less business because people don't have the money?
Well, I've been in both places, but
Uh-huh.
I'm very fortunate with my business. Some months I think I'm not going to make it, and then it falls out of the sky.
I understand.
So, again, I'm very fortunate. I'm usually booked weeks and months out, and so I just, I'm very thankful, and I feel very blessed that, I feel like I'm doing what I'm here to do, and that's why it shows up. So.
Well, yeah, and I can feel that love is at the root of all this for you.
Thank you.
That's obviously really important. Listen, I understand you got some new kind of things coming on board. What do you got going on?
Oh, I do. I mean, this year has been very exciting for me. I have been so busy. I see clients. I'm a full-time mother and take care of the house. I spent some time out of the country. I had 2 messages from Spirit Events in Canada. That was awesome. I've done a lot of radio and now I can tell you a little bit about this. This is a secret.
All right.
I've
I'm up for secrets.
Yeah. I've been working on a project, a new book, and a companion that goes with the book. And I really, really feel like this was divine-led in my life, and I really feel like this is going to be, and I've actually been told that this is going to be something that's going to be very sought after by the public and media. So I'm excited, and I'm looking to launch this and release everything. I'm hoping this spring of 2012, so stay tuned.
Well, when you get that put together, Pamela, contact us. We'll have you back on. And we'll
very good.
Thank
you.
We'll help
Thank
promote
you
you there.
So, and then I have some other things coming up. I'm getting ready to release my newsletter. It'll be about mid-November. I have some announcements to make in there, and I always offer a special discount on my intuitive counseling sessions and some of my educational programs around the holidays. So be sure and check that out.
And that's at Pamela9.com, right?
Right, www.Pamela9, it's all spelled out, NINEPAMELANINE.com, and there's lots of information on my website. It's always a work in progress, so be sure and check it out.
One of the things that I was, when I first noticed you, was I was impressed by the quality of what you've done. I mean, it's kind of like you can tell a lot about people by whether their shoes are scruffy or whether they're shined or not.
Right.
And your shoes are shining pretty good on that. Your web looks great. Everything you're doing is first class, and it tells me that that's probably the way it is for you all the way around with people you deal with.
You know what? I actually do my own website. I do. Probably 99% of my own marketing material, and I'm like you, George. I have that creative side I have to feed all the time.
It's wonderful, but it can be a demon some days.
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you, are you using WordPress? What's your tool?
No,
Use Dreamweaver?
you know what? I learned Dreamweaver back when it was Macromedia.
I got it when it was Drumbeat.
Oh my God! So we are dinosaurs.
We're dinosaurs, absolutely.
Well, I learned that, and then Adobe bought it, and then I had this other website, and I was like, okay, well, I had to buy all that new software.
Right.
And then they had just changed so much of it, and I decided, I talked to a friend of mine, and he said, why don't you do a Joomla site?
Right.
So I learned how to do all of that, and he does my technical things on the site. But I love it, and it's very user-friendly, and I really, really am impressed with it.
Well, I looked at Joomla. I thought I was going to use it for a while, and then I looked at WordPress, and WordPress had so much more going on as far as the numbers of people using it and the plugins and all the stuff. So I just recently converted to WordPress. Oh, it's so much simpler and to do.
Oh, I know. Now, I have actually checked into that, and, like I said, my website's always in the process of being upgraded and changed and revised.
Right.
So I thought about adding some WordPress to it, especially for the blog. And
yeah, you can't beat it. And I'll tell you what, once you get past it's not that big a learning curve. But to maintain the site, I was taking me a day to, and now I do it in 10 minutes a week,
awesome.
Yeah, it's a huge time saving. So.
Well, so when you come by, you'll have to run in and give me a WordPress crash course.
I'll swap you out. You give me a little intuitive course.
Oh, I'd love that. I'd love that. Yes.
That would be great. I'll look forward to that at some point.
Good.
So have we missed anything that you'd like to talk about? We've got a couple of minutes left here.
Okay. Well, just, if everyone, check out my website. I always have lots of things going on. And I'd like to say I'm so honored to be a part of, it's a new online magazine. It's called The Alchemical Heart, and is published by Andrew Brewer and Alicia Kent. I have a link to that. I'm on Facebook. I'm at Pamela 9. There's a link to that. And just check it out. It's an amazing magazine.
I heard you mention his name. I think it was in one of your interviews. Give me a little quick synopsis of Andrew Brewer. What's he do?
He's also known as the rock and roll psychic. He's actually quite famous, and he's a wonderful friend and colleague. And he and his partner, his soulmate, Alicia Kent, they started this online magazine. It is just phenomenal. Check it out, George.
I will.
Get a chance.
Well, it sounds like he might make a good guest, too. Maybe you'll introduce us.
Yes, I would love to, and yes, he really, really would. So let's talk, after this.
Okay, fantastic.
I'll help you with that.
Great.
Okay?
We'll absolutely
Okay.
do that, and I'll contact you as soon as the video's up on the web.
Okay, very good.
Well, we timed it perfectly.
Yay, thank you. I love you dearly, and I'm so impressed with your work, and I look forward to us.
Well, you're a sweetheart, and I've totally enjoyed having you. I'm glad to have you as a new friend.
Yay, me too.
Okay, I'll look forward to talking to you.
Okay,
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye, honey. Thank you.
Well, what a sweet lady, Tom.
Yes.
She's just a charming woman, and got that big heart, and I know that she must help a lot of people, or she wouldn't be doing the business she's doing, because there's a lot of psychics that are starving out there. So, end of the show here. Next week, remember, we got Frank Huguenard, a filmmaker. This guy's got to be a lot of fun and good to talk with. Got a lot of really neat information around early Christianity and what might have went on and what really didn't go on. So be sure and come back and same time next week, 9 o'clock, Tuesday night. In the meantime, don't forget to accentuate the positive and have a fantastic week.